Hello, friends. My name is Tyler Brownrigg, and welcome to another episode of Main Show. Today, we're going to be talking about the ongoing controversy between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf, then some NBA play-in teams that we think can make a push, maybe make it to the postseason, make some noise this summer, and finally, we got a double rant for segment 3. The Swifties will love it, and Damar Hamlin, I will make sure he gets what he deserves. So stick around because Main Show starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
And we are back. And joining me for this segment to talk about PGA and LIV, I have the man Andrew Montana, and Ty Squared is here on Main Show. This is going to be outstanding.
We're back once again.
This. I'm always loud. I'm a loud guy. You know this all too well, dude. This is what I do all the time. All right. So, for those of you who do not know, PGA and LIV have had an ongoing beef, to put it lightly, ever since LIV Golf first got founded a few years ago. PGA was the longtime established brand in the golf scene. They had things like the Masters, the US Open, things like that. And now LIV has been their biggest competitor since forever, really. So, Ty, I'll start off with you. Tell us about the PGA Tour, what they've been doing, so that the viewer can get to know them a bit if they're not super familiar with golf.
So the PGA Tour, essentially all of their tours, they've had the Masters Tournament, the PGA Championship, the US Open, and the Open Championship. I also apologize, my voice is going out as we speak. But they've had all of these different tournaments, you could say, and for the longest time, they've been a monopoly, essentially. They've been the powerhouse of professional golf. Each and every professional golfer wants to play there. Recently, that has not been the case, unfortunately, because as much as I love the PGA, contracts are becoming more and more lucrative, like as time goes on, and the more opportunity somebody has to pass on a contract of that nature, the more these PGA golfers are going to want to dump their contracts existing and move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, and a lot of them have been moving on. The PGA was seen as this sort of untouchable, invincible brand that no one could really ever stop, like any other big sports league, like the NFL. They were like a monopoly. Some notable names that have left the PGA for LIV: Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, and the most recent Masters winners, Jon Rahm. So, Andrew, what is LIV Golf? How are they making all these big moves?
So LIV Golf was established in Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, 2021. They're completely just funded by the Saudi petroleum-funded government. And with that, they can just pump in as much money as they want. Also, I do apologize on the graphic. The prize money for this year is actually $255 million, not $25 million. That's on me. But that goes to show how much money is actually being invested into this tour. And as Tyler was saying before, there are plenty of examples of people who switched from PGA to LIV. One of them being Charles Schwartzel. He was the 2011 Masters champion and made $4 million by winning the first ever LIV's individual tournament. And that $4 million he made in 3 days at LIV, which he could have made in the span of 4 years. 4 years, the PGA, right? So, I mean, regardless, I think, call it what you want. The Saudi government is just sports, sports washing. And if you guys don't know what that means, it's essentially just using, a cover of sports to hide something else. And, you're covering up the human rights abuses that have been going on in the past. And that's a whole other topic. But when it comes to LIV itself, it is just, a monopoly of money that's entirely taken over the PGA. And, there have been some controversies regarding, you have your American traditional league in the PGA versus the up-and-coming Saudi team, or Saudi league, that just has so much more money, like tenfold at least. that's why people are switching, because you got, as you mentioned, much bigger contracts, also money security, and just everything that you could want in LIV. Plus, the PGA has its reputation of not, sticking with its players and telling them, hey, we're going to make this big decision, we're going to make that big decision when it comes to things like this, because this affects PGA players' lives, and PGA isn't telling its people about it.
And essentially, like, LIV has become a pay-to-play system, like offering monster contracts. Like, I can't believe how much funding they've gotten.
Yeah, the Saudi, I believe it's called the Saudi Sports Royal Collective. It's been a gold rush in the sports industry. They have PSG as one of them, and now LIV Golf. And you touched on it earlier, the ongoing controversy with LIV Golf and PGA. A lot of people took exception to people who switched over to LIV Golf because of, like you said, the human rights issues that the Saudi government has committed in its past. And PGA was really trying to stand by their firm beliefs of we truly, we are the respectable league.
We're the epitome of golf.
So we're the epitome of golf. LIV golfers, they banned them for a long time, but now there are ongoing merger talks between the PGA and LIV Golf. So Ty Paton, a question for you. What are your thoughts on this, on the merger, on the PGA kind of slapping its fans in the face by turning their back on what they said?
Yeah, this is LIV Golf having little to no respect for PGA fans, which when you have that much money, it's, I hate to say it, but it's understandable. They have as much money as they need to control the entire sport and everyone in it. And one of the biggest power players in this merger that's really getting the back end of it is going to be Rory McIlroy. And I mean, this guy has all of the lights on him. Like, it's really bad. So he gets offered a lucrative deal. I believe the report right now is $500 million.
Dang.
He turns it down, chooses to be a runaway, so that he can stick by his code of ethics. Now, believe what I say, he should have taken the deal, because now this merger is allowing any golfers, existing golfers in LIV who turned down extra contracts from PGA to stay there. They moved on to play for LIV. Now they can play in the Masters again. They're allowing these golfers who betrayed PGA to come back and play in the Masters. So Rory, who didn't take the $500 million, he's now getting the back end of this. He doesn't make the money, and he still has to play with the guys that cheated his own game. It sucks.
All right, and Andrew, do you have any final thoughts on this merger before we close out this segment?
So obviously there's a bad blood between the two tours, but as Ty mentioned, there were some players who left and were cut, whatever. But all 17 PGA members who participated in the LIV Tour, have gotten their PGA licenses renewed, or their memberships, renewed with PGA. So that's what Ty's talking about getting the bad end of the stick on that sense. But I do want to mention that PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan quoted, "These partnerships," meaning with LIV and actually two other tours. These partnerships will allow us to unify, innovate, and invest in the game for the benefit of players, fans, and sponsors. That has never been the case since 2021 when LIV popped into the picture. It seems a little bit hypocritical. I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Let us know what your thoughts are on the ongoing LIV PGA controversy, but sadly that is all the time we have for golf. Next up, Andrew will be sticking with us as we'll be talking NBA play-in teams, so stick around, you won't want to miss it.
My name is Tyler Brownrigg. I hope you're enjoying watching whatever show it is that's playing right now here on Hitting the Field Network. And if you're interested in more of our shows or want to know more about the one you're currently watching, don't worry, I'm here to tell you. Our week starts off on Mondays with HTF Bets, hosted by the Bets Boys, Andrew Montana, Ezra Hines, and Giovanni St. Cyrin. You can catch that show live Mondays at noon for all things betting in sports. I highly recommend it. And then you can follow it off on Tuesday with The Combine, hosted by the illustrious Ty Paton. If you're in for a more laid-back, kind of podcast-style show, a lot more casual, that is definitely the show for you. Maybe you'll catch some Ty Squared action with me on there. Wednesdays, every week, you'll be able to catch the vlog, learn about what's going on behind the scenes here in the studio at Hitting the Field, get to know more about us, especially the people behind the camera, who they are, and what we do to make these shows every week. And on Thursdays, live at noon, you can watch the main show with me as your host every Thursday, where we'll be covering all of the major storylines for any sport, be it football, basketball, hockey, soccer, you name it, we'll be talking about it on the main show. And then Friday, you can watch Nighttime with your hosts, Matty Glass and Patrick Previty, for all things college sports. especially with a focus on UCF sports and maybe the ones you haven't heard about so often, like tennis or women's track and field. It can be anything college on nighttime. And if you're interested in joining Hitting the Field and you're a UCF student, DM us on any of our social medias at Hitting the Field, and also give us a follow on all those and subscribe to this channel if you want to catch more of our content. But enjoy the rest of your show. As always, I'm Tyler Brownrigg, and I'll be seeing you on Main Show.
And we are back. Andrew Montana, as I said, is still with us. Now joining us for NBA this time, not NFL, Jared Fox.
That's right.
He's been hopping on bets a lot for NBA. Don't get it twisted.
Don't sleep on my NBA knowledge now.
He's very versatile, is what we've been seeing. All right, so we have each picked a team that's currently in the play-ins from out both conferences, and we also have some honorable mentions that we'll get to at the end. So I'll start it off with my pick, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans. This is a team that I think can really go far because it is a talented roster on paper. We have Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, and they were a high seed last year, but the issue with the Pelicans is injuries. It's a lot of would've, should've, could've with them, all right? Zion Williamson especially. But here's the thing though, if Zion is healthy and he's averaging over 26 points a game like he has right now, just 22 points per game. 22 is a career low for him. So you got to think he's currently dealing with a foot injury. CJ McCollum, he's only played in 33 games this season. So again, injury and health has been the big issue for them. But if this team can stay healthy, it has the talent to make a run in the postseason. Maybe not a finals contender, obviously. No one's saying that. But the semifinals, maybe even the conference finals, who knows if they get hot?
Here's the thing, though, because we're looking at the entirety of the Pelicans team, right? Jonas Valanciunas is averaging a career low, if I'm not mistaken, 14. And if it's not his career low, it's the lowest it's been in a while. Same thing with 2 assists. And I know this because I drafted him on fantasy because I know he's good at making plays, and he's not doing it this year. So I might have to drop him, whatever. But he's not putting up the same numbers we're expecting out of him. CJ McCollum stepped up as the point guard when he first got to New Orleans, but since then it's kind of taken a step back. And as you mentioned with Zion, is his health going to be like that issue going into the postseason? Because we saw it for a little bit last year when, the Pelicans had a glimpse of Zion for a while. They were the first seed.
Yes.
And they were strong. And then
we know they can do it.
Exactly. He fell off, and as did the entirety of the Pelicans team.
And they actually have some quality role players.
They do.
Jones, obviously. Rookie Jordan Hawkins has been outstanding for them, averaging over 10 points a game.
Jose Alvarado.
Can't go wrong with him. But any final thoughts you have on my Pelicans pick, Jared, before we move on?
I just think that it's the same team we've seen for so long. They just they're regular season warriors, but not even the Warriors. I'm not saying the actual Warriors. I'm saying just regular season.
But not even. I think they're barbarians at most.
Yeah. They're not even that great. So the injuries definitely hurt them, but I don't see them making a run in the playoffs at all.
They have constantly been haunted by injuries, but I think this is the year they can finally maybe move past that.
I don't.
You never know.
I'm rooting for them. They drafted me in 2K15. I'm rooting for them.
2K15.
I might go back.
So Jared, tell us about your playing team that you want people to watch.
So right now we're talking a real NBA team. That's right. We are. Oh, you forgot? You forgot which one? Yeah, that's right. We're talking the Orlando Magic, baby. Orlando Magic. Hey.
I love that song.
Listen, they're currently sitting at the 8 seed. They were the 4 seed earlier this year. Whatever. We fell off a little bit. That's okay. But we're tied at the 8 seed, kind of. The Miami Heat have the 7 seed. And then after them, it's just the Bulls and then the Hawks. And then I can honestly just go ahead and tell you right now, the Nets, the Raptors, the Hornets, the Wizards, and the Pistons, they're not making the play-in. There's no chance. So, but I do kind of see the Bulls and the Hawks kind of going in there, maybe passing the Magic. But all-star starting snub Paolo Banchero has been absolutely
I mean, what does Joel Embiid
wicked.
do? Let's be honest.
He doesn't do it. He just sits on his couch.
He just sits on the couch and drops 50 on your favorite team.
Yeah, but
the line.
Yeah, but Paolo's actually playing NBA
That's true.
basketball, so he's kind of more important. And actually, just last night, he said, my rookie year was just trying stuff, game in and game out, seeing what works in the NBA and what doesn't. So last year, he was just out there playing, just hooping. Now he's actually trying to carry his team to
A play-in tournament.
A playoff spot. A playoff spot. I was gonna say play-in, but I was like, no. Playoff, top 6. So that's where I see them finishing. I think they do eventually pass the Heat. They're setting up the same record, like I said.
He's
But
been really bad recently.
They're still on a losing skid.
they
I
are
believe,
bad.
Right?
They
I
are
don't- I
really
think
bad.
Or they
were-
just ended.
I think they were on a 7-game. I think they won last time. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. They
Yeah.
just ended. their
They're
7-game
legitimately
losing streak.
terrible. But someone I do want to point out, Jonathan Isaac, the minister of defense, is back, baby. He had a block on Wemby last night. Absolutely insane. You have to look it up to believe it. But
I mean, I believe it. Like,
yeah, I mean, but you should look it up. I mean, it's that insane that he blocked Wemby. I mean, come on.
I really like your Magic pick. They're a young team. They play with a lot of style, flash, pizzazz. The song.
It's
The
electric,
song is
yeah.
timeless.
Oh my God.
I love the song. I can't get enough of it. And of course, us living in Orlando, there's a lot of feel-good vibes when I see the Orlando Magic. So I really do hope for the best of them, especially since they've been like a perennial loser for
That's
a long
true.
time.
For our entire lifetimes, really. Well, I mean,
Yes.
2011, but I wasn't watching.
So yeah, they have deserved it. So now
Learning my times table.
Moving on to our final pick before we move into our honorable mentions. Andrew, who do you have for us?
I'm looking at none other than the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I remember last season when they traded for Kyrie Irving, maybe my second favorite player now. I don't know, but he's up there for me. I just grew up with him. People compare me to him in my youth, whatever.
Are you wearing your Kyries right now?
I'm not. No,
Okay.
I don't wear my basketball shoes outside of a basketball court. But I mean, this season with that same roster, at least a similar one. Obviously, you added Derek Lively, who's been just terrific for the Mavs. Yeah. You've got Luka Doncic, and if you look at his stat sheet, it's been a Luka wonderland. I mean, he's averaging career high 35 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds. He's also averaging the most steals out of any Maverick, which I think is crazy, almost 1.5. But I mean, outside of him, it's kind of like the Pelicans, like whether like day or night, whatever. Kyrie, he can go out there, he can put out 40 realistically, but he can also kind of underperform. He can shoot like a 3 for 13 kind of a situation.
I feel like his availability is also
His
very
availability,
big.
that's true. Yes, dealing with some injuries here and there. My concern is that his injuries are like in various parts. They're not super severe, but if there's a lot of parts of you that are delicate, then it's harder for you to play as hard as you can, especially on the defensive end. But I mean, outside of that, I think if Luka continues doing what he's doing, and then Kyrie, he has championship experience. If he steps up, if everybody else takes at least a little bit of a step up, I think the Mavericks have at least a decent chance to make a play-in push, maybe even a playoff push.
I like the Mavericks pick, honestly. I mean, like you said, Derek Lively's been hooping.
He's
not
been
gonna
incredible.
win. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year, obviously, but like he's probably like a top 5 rookie right now. And then Luka, I mean, I think he's my MVP. Like, sorry, Joel Embiid truthers, you need
That's
to just
fair.
cry, but.
Shea.
Shay's
yeah.
up there too, but
Shea.
I think Luka's just
Shay's a good pick.
insane, bro. I mean,
He's-
Shay's
yeah.
now dropping 72, 73?
73. That's
like,
true.
Come on, bro. Like, this man
But
has
Shea
it
is
all.
what, first, second seed?
They're the second seed because they lost to the Timberwolves. You know who else lost to the Wolves? The Mavericks. We're not talking about them.
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
So moving on to our more honorable mentions. These are teams we have 2. One that we think is still a good team in the play and can maybe turn their season around, and the one that is probably on their way out of the play-in.
A dishonorable mention.
A dishonorable
There you
mention.
go.
So for our good honorable mention, we have the LA Lakers. Now they're currently sitting around 500. They're, I believe, the 10 seed right now, 10 or
9 or
11.
10.
They're
9 or
11.
Or 9 or 10.
They're 11.
11 seed. Okay, they're the 11th seed.
So graphics outdated.
And
Sorry.
it has been an up and down year yet.
No, it's just
right?
been down.
It's just been down.
It's just been down.
It's just been down.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have LeBron, you have AD. Now, I think they can maybe still rebound out of this, especially with the trade deadline coming up. They've had some names rumored.
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray is a big one. But I think even if they were to make a trade for a guy like DeJounte Murray to be their point
gives
guard,
up a lot of depth.
they wouldn't be out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know how they compete in the West, and which is crazy to say for a team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year.
I know
It's
how.
just everything was clicking last season,
Yeah.
right? D'Angelo also was putting up like consistently 25 and 9, something like that in the playoffs.
I don't know about
right?
that.
Okay, maybe not consistently, but he was like that. Those were his peaks, but his bottoms were like not too far away. So I think it was just a matter of the team. Oh my God, the defense has been so bad. Transition offense has been atrocious. It's been awful. But I think, like you said, if something happens in the trade deadline, like what happened last season, we could see them later on in June, maybe. It could be a cruel summer. I don't know.
I don't know. But now moving on to our bad honorable mention, the Utah Jazz. This is a team with no superstar, really, all right? So this is kind
Lori.
of just...
Yeah, I was
Lori,
gonna say marketing.
is he really in that, like, superstar category? I don't know. I don't think I'd give it to him.
Yeah.
They have decent, solid role players, but they won't make noise at all, I think. They'll probably teeter off. Maybe they make the play in the 10 seed. They sneak in there, but I'm doubtful. Any final thoughts, either of you, on the Jazz?
I like the Jazz. Don't sleep on Colin Sexton or Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, also one thing I do want to mention, as you saw in the graphic, they do have the 4th hardest remaining schedule, according to tankathon.com, and I think that's just going to be what ends their season, realistically. They face, I believe, the Timberwolves, Celtics, Clippers multiple times in the season, so I think that's going to be a tough one to face.
Sadly, that is all the time we have for NBA, but stick around for our first ever double rant here on Main Show. I've got a lot to talk about in 8 minutes, so I'm going to do my best.
Jack, buddy, why are you here?
I don't really understand why I'm here. I got called a delusional fan. I just don't understand why I'm delusional if I think Kirk Cousins had the best mustache in the league.
Well, Jack, buddy, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but I don't think anybody looks cool in handlebars.
But they're back, man. They're back.
They're not. They're not. Sometimes you just got to face the hard truth. It's right there in front of you. All these people, they're calling you delusional, but sometimes you got to worry about, am I projecting? Is it me? And in this
Let me
case,
tell you something, bud. It could never be me. Anything I say is factual and truth, and that's why the Vikings are going 16-1 this year.
Organization, you have to look at your roster and say, I've had Kirk Thuggins for 6 years. Maybe it's time to move on.
There is no moving on from Kirk Thuggins and Justin Jefferson.
Do you think that maybe this all started just because of a little disappointment?
Nothing has started. This is how I live, and I am not delusional. I'm a prophet.
And we are back. And it is time for the first ever double rant here on Main Show. And to start it off, I have to talk about Taylor Swift, all right? She is the biggest pop star in the world, and this whole thing that's been going on with Kansas City is just crazy. So I have to talk about it because, listen, the entire Taylor Swift outrage to me just seems like a bunch of fake outrage. Like, you're not actually mad about this. If you're someone who says, oh, I just want to watch a football game, dude, just shut up, all right? Like, me personally, I think it's kind of ridiculous if you say that. So I want to try and put this into perspective, okay, for those of you who aren't aware. So according to the New York Times, Taylor Swift has appeared on screen for a total of 2 minutes and 38 seconds across the Chiefs' last 5 games. And she was cut to a total of 20 times across all the broadcasts combined, all right? So this gives her an average screen time of about 31 seconds, her lowest being 12 versus the Bengals, and a high of 1 minute and 16 against the Dolphins. But that broadcast was terrible. The game was the snow, the wild card. It was a terrible broadcast. It sucked. All right, now, so to put this into perspective, an average NFL game broadcast is about 3.5 hours. If we use Taylor Swift's average screen time as a reference, this means she takes up, on average, 0.2% of an NFL game broadcast. Not even a whole percent. I'll go even further, all right? One step further, I'll take this. Let's compare her total screen time from all 5 games. So 2 minutes and 38 seconds to an NFL broadcast, so 3.5 hours. That takes up about 1.2% of the broadcast. And I'll go even one step further, all right? Let's say that Taylor Swift was at every single Kansas City Chiefs game this year. So that's 20. We'll use her average screen time that we calculated earlier of 31 and add it all up, all right? This gives us 10 minutes and 24 seconds. But you know what? Just because I can, let's round it up and double that number to 21 minutes. So this fake number across the entire season means that Taylor Swift was on screen for a whopping 0.5% of the season, if this was the case. Not even 1%, not even 1% of the NFL season, if this was the case. This stuff gets me so angry, it's like I'm seeing red, dude. It's insane that people get upset about this. What is there to be mad about? She's just there. We see celebrities all the time. like Matthew McConaughey at Texas games, Spike Lee at Knicks games. They cut to the fans. They cut to Roger Goodell like 4 times a game if he's at a game. This is always happens. And CBS, by the way, who cuts to her the most, also has the broadcast rights to the Grammys. So it makes sense to cross-promote. But that's enough on Taylor. I've said my piece there. Moving on to Damar Hamlin, all right? And the fact that I think this is a discussion is kind of a joke, all right? Without question, Damar Hamlin deserves to win Comeback Player of the Year. If you have someone, or you specifically, say otherwise, you could not be more wrong. Now, there's 2 big arguments that people have against Damar Hamlin winning the award, all right? So the first one is Joe Flacco deserves to win the award for what he did with the Cleveland Browns. What did Joe Flacco come back from? He played for the Jets last year. He was just on his couch? Like, what? Comeback Player of the Year, you have to be injured to win it. Only twice has the award gone to a player who wasn't injured the previous season, and that is last year, Geno Smith, who also didn't deserve the award because guys like CMC and Saquon Barkley were having career years. And they had better years than Geno at the running back position than he did at the quarterback. And then Phillip Rivers in 2013 also won the award. You can also count Michael Vick in 2010, though he was in prison. So this is like more of a gray area because of his dogfighting scandal. The moral of it is that exceptions prove the rule, okay? They don't, just because there is an exception doesn't mean, oh, we can move the goalposts now to this is what it takes. So yeah, CMC or Saquon should have clearly won it last year. So there's the argument for you have to be injured. It can't be Joe Flacco. Next is people will tell you that Damar didn't really play this year. He didn't do anything. No, he played in only 5 games this season and registered just 3 tackles. All right? Here's my counter to this point. He died. He was dead on the field. His heart stopped beating. It is a miracle he is alive, let alone playing professional football less than a year from when the event happened. So, let's compare this to another winner of the Comeback Player of the Year award, Alex Smith. In 2020, when he came back from his gruesome leg injury that almost killed him, it was nearly fatal, he played in 8 games, throwing 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. A pathetic performance, to say the least. Do you want to know who else was injured the previous year in 2019 and then came back and had an outstanding year? He had an amazing year. Big Ben. He went out with an elbow injury last year, led the Steelers to 12-4 record, and threw 33 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. And this is when he was doing dink and dunk. Their offense was death by 1,000 cuts. It was nothing special. He was outstanding. So are you going to sit here and tell me that Alex Smith should have his Comeback Player of the Year award taken away because he played terrible as a quarterback and put up no stats just because Big Ben had a good year? No, obviously not, because everyone thought it was a miracle that Alex Smith was playing football, that he was walking. They thought he was going to have to amputate his leg. The infection was so bad. It is just insane to me that this is a discussion. Why is this so difficult for people to comprehend? He died. His heart stopped beating on the field. He needed to be resuscitated. That's never happened before. And now he's playing pro football less than a year later. Alex Smith was out for over a year with his injury. So Damar's story is not that different from Alex Smith's. The Comeback Player of the Year, you don't need to perform amazing. If your injury is so gruesome and you're playing pro football, that is good enough to win it in my eyes. But I digress. As sadly, that is all the time we have for this episode of Main Show. This has been an absolute blast for me personally. So, as always, I am your host, Tyler Brownrigg, signing off.
Things Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay?